Well, hello there, everybody. It is Wednesday, the hump day, as they say. So good to see everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And again, this is Wednesday. We have kind of focused in on Wednesdays on our class on demonology, which seems to become a pretty popular subject. It's everywhere. So just strap in. If y'all could have heard the earlier conversation, serious, man, you would have really been digging it. But anyway, welcome everybody. Let me just speak favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And remember, this is a journey. And when you take a journey, you go into undiscovered territory. And that's what makes it so freaking exciting. So keep that in mind as we get in. Keep an open mind. And I believe that you will learn something as the panel is, and trust me, we were already discussing some really good stuff. I think you'll find it interesting. Those in the chat room, thank you for participating. Thank you, moderators. All of y'all are just fantastic. I love this. So Odin's Day, as Nick Bravo says. So Purgatory Traveler and all the rest of you, greetings. So panel, JD, I'm sure will be joining us. Miss Nina, good to see you, my dear.
Pleasure to be here again.
Always lovely. And Ruric, good to see you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here as well.
Yeah, I really enjoy this. Getting, it's kind of like you get a new piece of furniture, like a couch, and at first it doesn't feel right, but then it gets kind of broken into. So we were discussing before we went live, and I just thought everybody else can join into this. One of the questions was asked, why is the subject matter of demonology, Satanism, I think maybe to a limited degree, Luciferianism, but I'm not so sure about. The question was, why is it always attached to the morbid, the spooky, the grotesqueness? And Nina, you had a comment as we were discussing, and so I'll put it out to both of y'all. Both of you just give me your answer on this. And since we are gentlemen here, Nina, we always allow beauty before age.
Yeah, so grotesque and whatnot, that's eye of the beholder, so you got to remember that these beings are from different realms, different places, and they're not always going to look like us. Most likely they're not going to look like us, I would say, and they probably think that we look grotesque. Gosh, as a matter of fact, I've heard that. We smell, they don't like that, and so it's all in how you look at it, right? So and this path isn't for everyone, and if you are easily scared, you probably shouldn't be there, and they, to me, like when I've met a couple of them, they do come to you in their more scary form, and the reason being is it's a bit of a test. I think that's what I figured, and if you can get past that, then they morph into their more pleasurable way. So so it's not for everyone, and you do, you can't be too squeamish, when you're doing it. So yeah, that's how I see it. But
well, so as we were talking, I don't know what an alien looks like. I've been taught what an alien is supposed to look like. I don't know. I mean, is that really what an alien looks like? I'm not even sure what an alien is. In my 50 years in Christianity, I did see, and there were others in the audience who saw the same being. Now, was it an angel? I don't know. Really, I don't know what an angel looks like, to be candid with you. I know it's not some fat baby.
According to the Bible, yeah, exactly. That's a cherub thing. But yeah, according to the Bible, they were so hideous that people were dying of heart attacks just from looking at these things. So there you go. That's your angels for you. So why would the other realm be, any different? So that's the thing. They're not from here. They don't look like us. They might resemble us in a bit, like in the silhouette or the shape or whatnot, but we're not the same. So.
And you got a good point. Modern day Christianity, which is really a new religion, they've distorted what the scriptures really had to say. And there's so much lost in translation. But you're right. In the Old Testament, humans didn't like being around angels because angels were death. I mean, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what two of these beings did. Rick, what say you, sir? And thank you for being on.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I think I'd have to agree with Nina. I mean, just to assume that, one side is more grotesque than another. I mean, again, we're talking about sides here, which is kind of ridiculous. But I mean, what do the average Joe Schmo know of what they look like? We have these artist depictions, which I have found there's only a few that I think like, wow, that's kind of spot on. But a lot of them, it's, up for interpretation. And another thing to consider is that a lot of these entities can choose how they appear to you.
Shapeshifters.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was saying earlier, a lot of them have a common appearance that they like to appear as. Some of them change from time to time depending on kind of what you're working with them for. I mean, a lot of the way they choose their appearance is purposeful. There's symbolism there, and including what they're wearing and everything else. There are a lot of entities that I have come across that are absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Well, the seraphims are said, according to Jewish folklore, are said to be reptilian in appearance. Apparently, as I've understood, no human has actually met a seraphim, because apparently their appearance, their what they are, is so counter to us that humans typically will die in their sight. As again, there is no written record of a seraphim actually appearing before a human. So that tells me something right there.
Mm-hmm.
So another question, when it comes to the subject of demons, dealing with Satan, Lucifer, etc., do you all believe that they are directly attached to Judeo-Christian dogma? Because the Abraham belief system covers Judaism, Islam, and Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. I think they exist right outside that. I mean, just because they were incorporated into whatever doctrine it's become doesn't necessarily mean that that's what brought them to be. So, yeah.
What say you, Nina?
Yeah, I think it's a chicken or the egg, right? That's, who knows what came first, really. I mean, we weren't there. So,
Yeah,
we're
that's
all
a
learning,
fact.
so not that I can remember anyways, but Satan to me, I mean, in the Bible, or is it the book of Enoch? I think it's mentioned twice in plural, Satans, adversaries. So anybody that's your adversary is a Satan in your life, So that's kind of how I see it. I've never met Satan. I've never really worked with Satan, so I can't really say too much. But to me, it's more of a title than a being. But then, obviously it's become a being.
Yes.
It's thought forms. We can all agree that thought forms and egregores and all this kind of stuff. So if there wasn't a Satan in the beginning, there sure is now. We've created
Well,
it
Dante
now.
made that impressionable
Yeah.
upon the human consciousness, gave it.
Right.
The thing that it's amazing on that, Nina, is that when you think of New Testament scripture, Jesus never met Lucifer. He met Satan.
Right.
And I try to bring this out to people. So, if you're talking about this Jesus character, the only record that is written was that, he met Satan, never met Lucifer.
According
to
to
his adversary, though, could have just been Jesus' adversary.
Now, isn't that something? Why did he go out in the desert? Very good point, Rick.
So according to the doctrine, I'm sure, or what's written, but yeah, Lucifer definitely did work a lot with Jesus.
I read the Luciferian prayer that the Catholics pray once a year.
Yeah.
They pray it for the Black Mass. I mean, and it's amazing how many people will not comment on that.
Yeah.
Every time I'm waiting for someone to say, well, isn't that odd? Why are Christians worshiping Lucifer? And why would the Catholic Church, which is the Protestant Church, which is the church today, so why did they keep this hidden? What knowledge are they suppressing? This is what occultism is, because there's something hidden right in front of us. I mean, and that's what, when I came across that prayer, and you can actually, there's videos of them actually saying that Luciferian prayer. All right, so now did the Mormons have it right? I mean, they believe that Lucifer and Jesus are brothers, just as Yahweh and Baal are brothers. I mean, to me, this is not gods. This is an alien race. It has structure. It has foundation. Hello there, JT. I see you, brother. But anyway, that's how I look at it, because, I studied the other side diligently, like the counter version of Genesis. I was a blind servant. I obeyed. I prayed accordingly as I was taught. And the problem became that when it became a real personal discovery, I'm finding out that there was a lot withheld. And then I found out that those who taught me, they don't know what the hell they're teaching. JD, good to see you.
Thank you. Sorry for my tardiness.
No.
My apologies, everyone. Sorry about that.
Oh, no.
Well, jump on into the conversation.
Well, I definitely will. I'm drinking my coffee. I'm kind of lagging behind today a little bit. So
That's all right. We'll plug you in.
I'm just getting my motor's gears going here.
Well, it's good to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here as always.
Well,
and I appreciate it. And Sarah's coming too. She's late also. I made her late. Sorry.
Actually, you're right on time. If it's your timing,
Yeah.
So, getting into this, because if we can take this teaching that permeates most humans, when we got married on Hawaii, and so while I was over there, went to a number of places that were sacred sites. Well, the first thing I found out about Egyptian belief systems is that all of their demons, and that's what they call them, their deities, are very grotesque creatures. I mean, but they were very, I would say, accustomed to them. And it shows you the dynamics of where you're raised in the world. And if you're westernized, you've got to get through all this bullshit before you can really get to what would be substantial learning of the other side. And to answer the person who sent the question, I think that this is just my beliefs, that the only way the Christian religion can exist is it has to have an enemy, an antithesis to it. And, that they don't define heaven very well, but they define hell perfectly. And that kind of tells you something right there in the story. And my point is, I believe that these beings existed before this religion came around. I don't believe that Yahweh is the creator. I don't believe that Jehovah, yada, yada, yada. I do not believe that they created this thing. I think they came in and occupied it, and they brought their hierarchy with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like everything that we have in place now, of course, as we're all beginning to realize, I mean, it's all a control mechanism. I mean, everything is a control mechanism, and it's all put in place to have us to thwart us from realizing our true potential and our true power. And it only wants to be held by the few that understand and know about these mysteries. And of course, like, I'm still learning these things. And the more I dive into it and the more I learn, the more that I do come to realize that, like, yeah, I am driving this vehicle. Like, absolutely, you know, all of us are. And we all have great potential, but so many are never, ever going to realize it. You know, they will live and die and never, ever really know much of really anything, like really just like scratching the surface. And that scares me to death, like thinking about that, like how my life could have been, and the course that it was on. You know, I mean, it would have been a great life. I would have done like everything that was expected of me to do, you know, as a father and as an American man and all of that. I would have done my duty and done my little things and been like, okay, and just like, I don't know, like it just to never to remain on the course that I was on, which was very, very spiritually ignorant. And again, I'm not saying that I have all the answers now. I do not. But I didn't know a damn thing. And I was caught up in this world that is what they want me to believe it is. And I was believing it. You know, like I had totally bought into it 100%. And I was just like, all right, this is what we got here. I'm gonna try to like make a go of it like this. And it just wasn't working for me very well. And I don't think it's working for a lot of people very well. And all of the answers, or not all of them, but a lot of the answers, I mean, there's a million different systems out there, and a lot of them will lead you to some truth. But you know, like what I have found now, that you know, there's so much truth that they have tried to make you believe is an absolute grotesque lie, and that there's a lot of ugliness wrapped up in things that are actually beautiful, and that, you know, like everyone has been like so misguided and so misdirected, especially in regards to like what I do and what we're doing. You know, it's sad, really, in that way.
Excuse me, folks. Something was underneath my foot.
No,
Call the dog. Well, I want to kind of bring out the point that you were just making. I mean, when I began this discovery that, all right, if I have this being that hates me, that is against me, you know, and again, I fashioned my whole belief system around that structure. Mm-hmm. But as I grew as an adult, just to find my youth again, I began to find out that there was something wrong with the story. Because in my case, you know, you would go on church on Sundays and then on Wednesdays, and the testimony time was about how the devil was kicking everyone's ass. And, you know, everybody was going to have a prayer, and you're going to find, you know, a prayer line, and we're going to ask God and Jesus and to protect us and deliver us. But, you know, as I look back now, and it was right there in front of us. I mean, if this was the case, then we're dealing with, you know, something that we have no idea about. Was all these things really caused by the devil, or was it supposed to be this God that was in charge? And then when I described God to us he was Jewish, and apparently had a split personality and decided to become a Christian. And then the whole plethora of opening up of what ancient gods were and what ancient cultures used to worship was thrown into the mix of these beings. And so that's what I had to go through. I mean, I actually cast demon out of people. Mm-hmm. And now I look back and I'm questioning, well, now just what the hell happened here? Mm-hmm. Because if these beings if they're immortal, then there's no way they're going to convert to Christianity. There's no way a demon is going to be afraid of the name of Jesus. There's no way a demon is going to be afraid of the Catholic Church or a priest or water, whether you want to bless it or not.
Those, I think it's interesting to note that some people that are, or most often when people are possessed by a spirit and stuff like that, it's usually a ghost, not a demon. There are some rogue demons that are rogue from the cliff off, and they can do whatever the hell they want, but they're kind of like a lesser spirit. But Yeah, and a lot of those ghosts have not crossed over the veil. So their belief and they're just as limited thinking as we are.
I can't see why a creature, if Satan is who they say, why you would want to, or she would want to take the time of possessing a human body.
I say that all the time when it comes to hauntings too. Like, I mean, all the time when it comes to
Really?
haunting things. Yeah,
You know?
King Paimon isn't waiting in your grandma's closet to jump you.
Yeah,
Better
it's
things to
like,
do.
No, I think the Christians are just using the devil as an excuse of why they did whatever.
Mhm.
Oh, the devil made me do it, right? It's just that's all it is, right? The devil didn't do shit. It was them. It's all on them. But they're not gonna own
I ain't
up.
gonna accept that. I mean,
No.
and again, so I was talking to a lawyer friend of mine and on this subject, and and I said, well, how would a lawyer come and represent Lucifer? And he said, right from the very get-go, he said, I'd file a suit for defamation of character.
Mhm.
I thought, now that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went, because you profaned my name. I mean, you've slandered me. There's no way that I could go into, let's say, a room of people who have been thoroughly convinced that this is who and what I am.
Yeah,
I can go into that room.
I deal with it every day, and
I
all
bet you do.
facets of my life. Yeah, from my family to business to everything. And it's crazy, and it's a difficult way to live, but it's I have to be who and what I am. I've lived way too long denying it. And now, like, most people don't like it, and they don't like it based on a lot of bullcrap preconceived notions that aren't true at all.
Yeah.
There's a big point here. I know I've heard from many people be like, they want to know what the truth of everything is, right? Who's right? Is it Jehovah? Is it Satan? Is it whatever? And why hasn't there been like a big show of these entities come into this realm and being like, nah, this is it? Why haven't Jehovah just shown up and been like, all right, here I am, blah blah blah, or Lucifer or Satan for that matter? Why is it we're still wondering? Why is it we're caught in this web of confusion when it could easily have been just shown, right? The reason being is because it's not important. Like, why hasn't Lucifer made a case for like, oh, I'm not what Jehovah he says I am, etc. Because they don't care. They don't care. Jehovah doesn't care. What it is we have to think about the reason we're here, and that's to learn and develop. And there is a reason why we come into this life not knowing anything. Right, to start blind and find home again is the ultimate test, is what Thoth had made clear to me. It makes sense. So part of that learning process is not having that clear indication that a spirit come into you and be like, this is it. You have to find that out for yourself.
It is about a self-discovery. I really it is, because I have a sense that one way or another you're going to find the same discovery on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's all, that's the whole journey here. So Jehovah will take advantage of what he does, it's like, well, people are going to, remain ignorant, all the better, See,
when
Jehovah,
I was doing the Liber Lilith, it became, and she was talking to me at night, and a lot of times when I was writing it. But anyway, the thing that we called in my former Christian belief system was that there was this cloud. Now, we were taught that cloud was sacred, powerful, but actually it's to hide. And, again, I've become more convinced that we're really living in occupied territory.
Yeah.
Because as the shirt says, there's no servitude that I have found for Lucifer. I haven't found it. What I do find is that knowledge is not quite what I thought either. There is a knowledge that most humans on a level, they're never going to touch it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hello, Sarah. How are you?
Good. How are you, Wayne?
Doing good, thank you.
Good.
You know, we're just stirring up the shit. That's all.
Yeah, that's always fun. I love it.
You know, it's like, why
Let's
do you
stir it
have to
up.
talk on this all the time? You know why we have to talk on it?
Because it's awesome.
It is awesome.
intriguing.
And, you know, ignorance is a self-inflicted disease
Yep.
easily cured by knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Nina,
Well put.
someone wrote to me and said, ask Nina, how did she begin her journey? And is there one particular, I'm going to call them divine ones, that you particularly enjoy working with?
Yeah, so actually I started last week. I'm starting a new series now where I'm talking about my personal experiences so that, you know, because I realize a lot of it is not out there, a lot of it. So so make sure you subscribe to my YouTube and follow along because you will get all that. But yeah, no, you know, the first thing I did when I left Christianity was to go right to the other side, of course, you know, and Lucifer was definitely top of the list, the first person that I had channeled. And if you watched last week's episode, you would have gotten the first message that I got was very interesting because I went to a friend of mine who I know is a good channeler. And even though she's on the right hand path, she agreed to channel Lucifer, and actually was a very good experience for her. She actually learned a lot from doing that because she's never really done that. But anyways, as soon as I had made that appointment, the next morning I wake up and I find this water bottle on my kitchen counter with a whole bunch of cutting implements, like your pizza cutter, potato peeler, a knife, you know, a bunch of things crammed into this thing. And I live here by myself, so there's no way anybody could have done that. So this was definitely a message from Lucifer of cutting the cords. Make sure
Ooh,
that I
yeah.
cut the cords to Christianity and to all the bullshit, because he's seen me through a lot of in and out of religion a few times, and I think he's getting sick of it. But yeah, so make sure to cut the cords, you know. So that was one of my first supernatural, like physical manifestation message, if you will. So that was pretty cool.
So on a personal question, having left Christianity, so as someone wrote me this week saying, you know, how can, you know, you've taken your name out of the book of life and you yada 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 done all that. Has that impacted you? I mean, have you ever given that a second thought? And because that's the belief system, you know,
No.
is that you've got the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. You know, this is called Jesus in heaven.
No, you know, I went to church. The last time I went to church, I'm looking around. I'm like, nah, no. If I got to be in heaven with these people, nah, I think I'll skip. I think I'll skip it.
I mean, I'll say that I definitely have gone through that, like where I have, you know, questioned my faith on the left-hand path here. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, just like when things just got, I was in the middle of doing some really, really hardcore shadow work and really going deep within and like, it just stirred up a lot of things. And I got frightened for a minute, you know, and I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, maybe I have gone too far. But at the same time, I was like, well, shit, like with everything that I've done and everything I'm involved in, like what's done is done. And if I am screwed here, then I'm screwed, you know, and I was, you know, I was going through that for a minute and I was, you know, and I was afraid. And then I had to really just stop and think like, dude, like, I've been to plenty of churches and I've associated with plenty of these people, and I know damn well that they don't have the answer.
Yeah,
That
that's
is for sure that they do not. And, you know, it's like, in a lot of ways, like when you're really getting close to like pushing through to like another level of this, and obtaining like this esoteric knowledge, like your faith will get tested, of course, you know, just like it does on the other side of things. And so I think that I'm finally over that hurdle, like once and for all. Like, you know, I've been back and forth enough times now and learned my lessons from it. And I know I know what that church is now, without a doubt. At least in my own opinion. And it boggles my mind that with what's going on in the Catholic Church, what they have done, for hundreds of years now, and how many people they have killed and how many children they have hurt and continue to hurt. I can't believe that my own children still go to that crap, but there's nothing I can do about it. But what else needs to happen for people to like wake up and realize and see, especially there in that church, like what the hell is going on here? Like, what are you people doing?
It's the boiled frog. The frog doesn't realize it's being cooked.
Right.
It is
It's
insane.
like-
Those too
Do
late.
it so slowly and so insidiously.
Exactly. And then someone's going to eat them as frog legs, Come
Yeah.
on,
Yep. What happened?
Well, the
So
exciting thing though is that the Catholic Church, that all the stuff about the Catholic Church is coming out now. So,
Yes.
I think we all know now, even I think majority of people do, they're just in denial. They're just like,
Right.
can't, can't be, and with the Dalai Lama, I saw that thing there. That was gross. Like,
what the hell was that?
A lot of weird stuff going on, man.
Man, I mean, I'm going, whoa, if that's what you get for 70 years going deep, can I lick you?
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
what the hell was that? But
Yeah.
it's interesting because Catholicism, by Protestants' definition, is a pagan church. It's a pagan religion. Yet they, of their own belief system, was built upon that pagan church that has idols, praise to the idols, and the thing that gets me, has the audacity to elevate a human to a sainthood. I mean, who the hell do they think they are? But yet, if it wasn't for this left-hand path, they wouldn't be as rich as they are. So who's really the bad person here? And again, I have studied this. Someone wrote me and said, well, when you did your Liber of Lilith, and thank you, JD, for showing that over in your channel.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying
yeah.
that. I'm enjoying that again because I think I
Yeah.
missed it because I think I found you just after you were done that or something.
Yeah, that was a real,
Wow.
that what people don't realize is that's when, I left the Nibiru community and came under heavy persecution from all those Christians. I mean, I lost over 5,000 subscribers in
Wow.
2 days.
Wow.
And, there were other channels out there just blaspheming me and this and that. And it's cool, it's like, all right, fine. That's what you were thinking to begin with, but yeah. So it's that book changed my life. It was amazing how much gnosis and what I would call just the rhema of knowledge that was being poured in. And, if there was a line, I've crossed that son of a bitch so far back, I don't even know where it is anymore. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah.
Ruric, what say you, sir?
Oh man, well, you guys covered a lot of different things.
Big paintbrush.
yeah. Oh man. I don't know. I think it's
Now, did you have Christianity in your background? Were you raised in that environment?
yes, I was raised in a really strict Christian household.
What denomination?
Well, they started out as Baptists, and then
Of course. Yeah.
and then they went to Presbyterian, and then eventually we were part of a church that was like non-denominational.
Yeah.
Jumped around a bit, and and they all had different just arguments about like petty things of, what do we all believe as a church for baptism? Do we dunk people or do we sprinkle the water? I mean, those were the petty arguments.
I like what that book said. It's really Yahweh drowning you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Drown you, son of a bitch. Now, it's like, okay.
Well,
So
it's symbolism. I mean, you're deeding your soul over to Yahweh.
you are. And that's the other question someone wrote to me. Says, do demons have souls? Does it require a soul to approach God or Lucifer or Satan?
We all have souls. you know, we all, every being has a soul. I mean, we can attribute any kind of term you want, but that's all it is energy. It's that specific energy, that certain frequency that is us. And every living being has one, including trees.
Yeah.
Even different, every living thing has a soul.
I like that.
And I
I
want to
agree.
mention something about trees that is very amazing to me. That so, you know, Sarah and I do most of our ritual work outside in our yard here. We've got a nice piece of property with like a
Big fire
cauldron
pit.
and an outdoor altar and everything that we use.
Do your neighbors know that?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah,
Okay,
they've
I'm
seen
just
it.
curious.
Yeah, no one's ever said
The
anything.
one that we know is fine with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
and
Martha, I swear they look like they're devil worshippers.
I had a
Nobody
woman.
messes with us.
I did have a woman. This was about 4 a.m. probably,
What years
like,
ago?
yeah, 3 or 4 years ago, and I was out there performing a ritual by myself. And she pulled over and she was yelling at me because I guess she was on drugs or something, because she said it looked like, to her that my whole house was on fire. I only had a fire going in the fire pit there in the ritual space. So I was like, no, the house isn't on fire. Everything is okay, ma'am. And she was like freaked out. So I don't know what was happening, but the thing about the trees, though, is that every time that we are performing rituals like this and we are summoning these ancient spirits, the nature and the trees out here are like literally rejoicing. They are
love it,
happy.
because they remember it.
They remember it. Yes. And they are like, yes, thank you for doing this. Like, we've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for you to do this. Like, you know, they have seen it before, but it went away and people aren't doing it anymore. Right. And so they are so happy. Like the more people get into performing these acts of sorcery and spells and ritual work, especially
Out in
outdoors
nature.
like this, like, you will see things begin to change and things will become more alive than they are now. Like, they want to, they're asleep. They've been, you know, I don't think we realize
We
really
consider
like
them.
how real is, because so much of like our world has been asleep and it's been like in hibernation, and like through this sorcery, like it's all waking up again. So it's a beautiful thing. Like, they were speaking to me, they were saying like, yes. And like, they were really showing me like what they actually look like.
Yeah.
And like all the trees, they are like these beautiful freaking
It
spirits.
feels
dude.
like they're part of the
They are
ritual, like
grand.
they're in on it.
Yeah. They're definitely in on it. And so are the birds, like all
Yeah,
the
the
animals.
creatures, yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting to note, like doing rituals and stuff outside and in nature, you see how nature responds.
Mhm.
I've had animals just come up and watch.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I've had even like a pack of coyotes start, you know, going crazy and everything else. Like, it's interesting how everything just comes alive in your perception. You
Mhm.
know,
Last year, after when we did our group, right, there was kittens born right when we did it.
Yeah.
Right next to our circle.
We could hear it. We didn't
We
know
thought
what
it was baby birds.
Yeah, but it was kittens
They were
being
born
Yeah.
right next to our circle.
Yeah.
Wow, those would be some anointed cats.
Yeah,
we still have one of
we
them.
have one of
And she's
them, and
pregnant right now.
she's pregnant now. Yeah. Mhm.
Wow.
She's one of our
It'd be
outside
weird if she
kitties that we
wasn't
had.
right
Yeah.
again.
hmm
This is fascinating to me because so let's talk about rituals in how y'all approach this. I mean, do you first like ask permission? Because, you know, when you come into a church, you know, there's this whole ritual that prepares you to start receiving the spirit, you know, the message, or, you know, depending on which branch of that belief system. You know, I come from the supernatural side of it. We believe that, you know, that God is a supernatural God and performs supernaturally. I mean, because that's what really people, you know, when you think about it, that's what they want out of a God. They want to see the supernatural. But what I have found is, and I'm a neophyte here, but I have found that there is a different type of energy. I know what that energy feels like, well versed with it, but over here is a different time. Would y'all say the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that was, it's a very new thing, but yet at the same time, like my soul is familiar with it too. But definitely like it's it's something that I'm not familiar with. Yes. In many ways, it feels like it's something, yeah, like it's something new. It feels very, very supernatural to me, even though I know it's very natural, but it's, and I think that like all of these supernatural things are absolutely natural, but they are foreign to us. However, I think our soul definitely remembers and definitely knows all of these things. And like the further I go into it, the more familiar I am with it, yet it is always something that does seem very mystical and magical and somewhat foreign too, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nina, how about you? I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say preparing for ritual, part of what we do is kind of raise our energy, right? Kind of raise up. And that's basically what they're doing in church when they're singing. They're raising up their vibration, so that you can,
Ritual.
yeah, they're doing the same thing. It's just that, they call it something different, but that's basically, and spirits, all the spirits, I've noticed they love singing. You love it.
they
when
seem to.
And
Yeah.
like I prepare for rituals typically like days ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like Sarah and I are doing one on a Saturday, and so we began preparing for it yesterday, and we'll be preparing for it every day, like building the anticipation of it, both on our end and the spirit's end. Because like the spirits kind of broke it down to me here recently like this, and that a great way to approach like a major ritual would be to like set a date for it, like a month out. Like, so you set the date, right? And once you set that date, it's a lot like your favorite rock star has established a date for their concert. They said their concert's going to be on the 25th, right? And maybe the day is the 1st. So, in 25 days, it's going down, right? And so like when you set that date, the spirit has now bought a ticket to your show. And so now it knows, and you're going to be coming together in that way on that date. And so I, at that point, will get their sigils out, which is their symbol. I usually have it carved into like a wooden plate and have some candles and some incense, start setting that space up. Start offering them some blood offerings onto those sigils as well, like getting that anticipation, built up. And then on that night, on the 25th, when we summon those spirits, it is very much like going to your favorite rock concert and seeing your favorite performer perform. You all come together, you share that energy. When I summon them, it's not really like me being there to see their show. They're coming to see my show. They're coming to be a part of my rock concert. Yeah.
What you're putting on for them.
I never thought of it like that, but that's true. I mean,
like you're a rock star in their eyes.
Yeah.
I had never thought about that, because you're right. If I have a ticket to go see Steely Dan, although the other half of Steely Dan's gone, but yeah. You buy them 4 or 5 months in advance, and you're right. That day becomes almost ritualistic. That I had never thought of it that way. Very cool insight. Thank you.
Yeah, when I take that approach, it is freaking
awesome.
Oh
It
my
makes a big
gosh. They are ready. They are there. They come like
Wicked.
yeah, they're like yes, like they want to come and like be a part of what you've created. And so like that is where your magic does become like a living, breathing extension of you, your art, your living art. And like that is why I love magic. That's why I love ritual, because there's freedom in it to express yourself however you want. You can incorporate whatever kind of music you want, whatever kind of regalia of implementation and however you want to do it. There's really no right or wrong way. It's like whatever feels right to you, however you want to decorate your altar, whatever type of things you want to use and incorporate in your ritual, whatever you want to wear. Yeah, you want to dance, you want to sing, you want to have a few drinks, you want to make love
Smoke
with
a
your
cigarette.
partner,
Mhm.
like whatever you want to do is part of it, and adding to the energy and the essence and the beauty of whatever it is that you're doing. And the fact that that beautiful act also will bring forth like the things that you want in your life in this reality, like that's just a bonus, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like your wedding night, isn't it? Like you spend months, maybe sometimes
Yeah.
years preparing for this day, right? Everything has to be perfect, right? The actual act on the wedding day, well, that's, 10 minutes, right? It's kind of like
Right.
a ritual,
Uh-huh.
it's over in 10 minutes. But that whole setup of getting ready and
Journey.
yeah, it does take a lot longer to set it all up than the actual ritual itself. And the spirits are definitely guiding you. Like when he's saying, this, that, yeah, that's the spirits guiding you to what they want on the altar,
Right.
or what they,
Yeah.
what they want. And it's the setup that's actually more exciting than the actual act
Yeah.
itself sometimes. Yeah.
And I love it. I mean, we go all out,
The
and we spare no expense, and like whatever needs to be a part of it is a part of it.
And the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. When you boil it all down, it really comes down to energy. When
Right.
you're setting that date, you're setting your intention to be like, that's the day I want to
Already.
do this, right? And anytime you think about it, you're putting forth that energy.
Mhm.
We're always having energy flowing through you, and the moment wherever your mind's at, that's where it's going.
Right.
So when you're setting a date and saying like, this is the time I'm going to spend and contact so and so and whatnot, you're putting forth that energy. You're building up that time, and it's a wonderful, crazy experience. For sure.
It's y'all are talking. I can't help but not recall in a number of revivals, that the singing, you always have the singing before you take the collection, the offering, because if people are high while they're singing, their endorphins are kicking in, they're going to give you more money. But as y'all were talking in how you prepare and set this thing up, it amazes me as I look at the correlation of my own personal experience. The same thing would happen. We would come in, let's say, to church, usually 2 hours before service, and we were prayer warriors. So we would form our circle, start praying in tongues and calling upon the Holy Spirit to come in and fill the place. Well, I can look at exactly doing a ritual, whether I was calling on a demon or whether I was calling on, Lucifer itself.
Right.
It's the same process. The intensity, the emotion, and you wouldn't have a church service if you didn't have the energy and the emotion. People are putting into it tremendous amounts of energy.
Why do you think they feel so great afterwards? Have you ever been to a
Exactly.
Pentecostal church? Everyone's like, man, you feel it.
I mean, when you start seeing people running down the aisles and, and they're waving their hands and they're speaking in this strange language, and, if that, the only reason we see that as normal is because we've been told that is normal. I kind of look at it now as going, who's possessing who here?
Mhm.
Who's crazy? Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, in the psychic energy, when you think about it, but yet it's vilified if we approach, Ansel or Amos, whoever. I mean, what's the difference? And I'm seeing that there's no difference. As I've said, my initiation into the occult was 50 years of Christianity. I'm well versed with these things, and they're not strange to me. The only difference is saying, wow, I got a sense that there's more of a receptive audience over on this side, on the left-hand path, than on the right-hand path.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but I've been wrong before.
Well, there's way more judgment I find in the Christian community. Like, oh my goodness, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that energy, by the way, Nina, it's vitally, it's an elixir to these deities. Because if you see a person who is on their knees sobbing and just crying, that's huge psychic energy being dumped into something.
Well, yeah, you see all these televangelists, man. They're just
know them well.
sucking in from the crowd, and
They're using magic for sure.
there's a power. There's a power to congregation. I mean, if you think about it, you look at all of us like batteries. You have all these people together focused on one thing. You're creating so much energy.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Copeland looks possessed to me.
Copeland is a wizard.
And
I, you know, and
Joel
I'll-
He's
Osteen.
definitely using something.
yeah,
Yeah.
I worked, gave that ministry bunches and bunches of money. I mean, and I've participated as ushers and working in their prayer line. I know Gloria. These are powerful magicians.
Mhm.
They don't serve the same God that the audience is seeking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, they're elevated. Copeland has this thing that no human can touch him when he comes out of his prayer room and about to enter into the, meeting. And
I see.
and most time these are facilities that hold 5,000-6,000 people.
Mhm.
Gee, I think it's just, I'm looking at this and I'm just going, and it's all about the money.
Mhm.
Of course.
That's all it is. It's about the money. I mean, how many of us, have a citation 10? How many of us, have a G6? These cats, this is what's really different. They're elitists. And I told Lynn this when I took her down to Branson before we made our exodus out of the church. And Lynn said, "What the hell did you just expose me to?" Because she had never been in one of these Copeland meetings. And she says, "I don't know." She says, she said, "There's something that doesn't feel right about this." Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way that I felt, in the Mormon church, from my experience there. Like, it was weird. Like,
It's
it
very
always,
oppressive
yeah,
and judgmental.
something always just felt like something is not right.
So oppressive.
Like I did have a very spiritual experience when I was baptized for the dead in the Washington, D.C. temple when I was like 12. Like, that was an interesting experience. But the rest of my experience there, it was just it was something I couldn't put my finger on,
It just
but
doesn't feel
it
right.
just doesn't feel
You're-
right.
yeah, I
Yeah,
come
something
from a
just feels
big
wrong.
That's.
I came up when I was baptized, I came up speaking in tongues,
Oh, wow.
and it's never left me. It's still there. And I still question today, well, what really happened there? It's because you have to admit that when you take the step of baptism, that's on a spiritual level that I am sure I'm going to find representative over on the left-hand path. I haven't found it yet, but I'm sure that same, I don't know, ritual is there because it's powerful. It changes people's lives. I mean, you're representing that you've died, right?
I've reversed all of my Christian baptisms through
So have I.
a
Yeah.
black magic ritual at this point. That's something that I did years ago, to denounce those baptisms, and that was a powerful, that was a very powerful catalyst in my spiritual ascent. Is something that I needed to do for myself, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's about this way. Go ahead, Nina.
If anybody's looking for that, like some direction in that, talk to Ruric here. They actually offer that service.
Well,
their
Ruric, speak up.
Yeah, so there you go.
I'm enjoying listening to you guys. But yeah, the whole baptism thing, it's symbolic, and
It's heavy magic.
it is. And, there are a lot of reasons you might be guided to do that. Like, even in your path, you might be guided to take a bath, that symbolism of washing clean your past self or other things. It's a time of renewal. It's a time of rebirth. It's, and it's not something that's just one and done. It's a very symbolic gesture, a symbolic thing.
Mhm.
So what do you offer on that? I'd like because this is, I'm sure I'm not the only one asking these questions. Many people, I'm sure, even that are watching this, I've seen Slim Lewis says baptism is common religion and similar to pacts on the left-hand path.
I would not say it's similar to any pact, but I would say that in the Christian religion, baptism is an act that symbolizes you deeding over your soul, everything that you are, to Jehovah. And so what we offer, like Nina alluded to, is we break that contract. So you're now a free agent, so to speak. So you no longer have that. but no other entity will ever require you to do that. Only Jehovah, for some reason, does that. Now you can do soul dedications, which isn't the same as like selling your soul. That's more of like, hey, you know, I want to work with you exclusively, or I want to work with you in a deeper level, etc. But like the whole selling of your soul thing is ridiculous and absurd. That's not a thing. But Jehovah is the only entity that will require that and wants that, you know, to make that.
Now you've got me going on this, because it's the Spirit is speaking to me on this. So there is a symbolism that takes place in there that you're actually marked.
Yes.
And apparently this mark has been with me. So it's interesting. Now, is this a service that you offer through? Okay, then because it's very interesting. You know, you can make the proclamation publicly that, I void the contracts of the form of belief system. I've done that here, but it's interesting in the one in baptism, because that is something that it's interesting, because I for myself, I don't want to be walking down the path only realizing that I've been tethered.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
baptism.
the cool cords.
Well, bingo. I mean, exactly,
That's
Nina.
good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got those cords down.
So how does the process work, Rick? How does an individual, and folks, if you're looking for this, I'd encourage you to definitely reach out to the panel. But how is it for the individual? What process is required?
It's actually very simple. You can go about it in any approach that you want, and incorporate things that you want. But it really, what it is you making that proclamation, like you said, that's part of it. Just making that proclamation. You can even, draw yourself a bath and be like, it's like, I renounce any oaths that have taken, any contracts against me or whatever. I break it now, and you can call on an entity to kind of witness the whole thing if you want.
Oh, yeah.
It pretty much comes down to just that. It is a very simplistic thing. It's basically being like, you know what, you were making something that you weren't necessarily aware of, right? So you can break that, and you can, feel free to go about your path however you see fit, but you're no longer tethered.
Boy, these soul contracts, folks, they're freaking deep.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them. I mean, this is what really jerks my chain about this belief system that I've come out of, is the fact that, damn it, if they don't have you in one, they've got you in another.
Right.
And that's the thing that, it's many times in a contract, it's the smallest clauses that end up having the biggest impact on what the contract is.
Yeah.
You think that it's this big thing here. Actually, it's the small little print on the, last part of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you imagine? Here's the scenario: you cross over and you're thinking, man, I got it on the right thing. And then you're met with this freaking being that says, not so fast there, dude. And they hand you this, and they show you the IMAX vision of you doing it, and it's like, oh, I forgot that one. So Ruric, I could see that. And for baptism, to me, it's the immersion. Mm-hmm. And that's deep, because if I immerse myself into something, then that means I've given all of myself into it.
Right.
Holy crap. I mean, that's a soul contract that,
Yeah, I do believe, I think it was J.S. Garrett that came up with this. He did this.
And we're going to try to reach out to him. You actually gave me his email address.
That was actually a different one. That's the wedding. But I know lots of people actually. So if you want more, let me know. But yeah, no, he made this for his wife, who hadn't quite gotten out of the whole Christian thing. So it was an elaborate kind of thing that they did. And I think you guys are offering a course that JS made, a course that you can, so that you can learn to do it yourself, or you can hire him to do it for you. So yeah, so I mean, you can do it as big as small, whatever you want to. I mean, that goes for any ritual, but with the reverse baptism, I think it's very important. If you guys are like looking to get out of this, and you just you feel like you're still kind of, there, you're tethered, like you said, you can't see it, but you can feel it. And by doing that, you're cutting the cords, as Lucifer said, and you're washing it away, so yeah, highly recommend it.
Well, part of that whole deeding of your soul kind of thing with Christianity is once you do that, you're going to be surrounded majority of the time by emissaries from Jehovah, keeping you blind, keeping you kind of down,
Right.
keeping you from, seeing anything. So it's very liberating. It's very liberating because you're no longer being influenced by these emissaries of Jehovah that whisper in your ear, and it gets crazy.
No, it is crazy. I mean, it's messed up, man. I mean, I look at this, and all the trips I've ever taken on LSD don't compare to this. I mean, this is a zoo. I mean, I did more astral traveling in my days in that realm, and who knows, maybe I've been marked from before I was even here that was protecting me, because face it, folks, we've all been exposed to it. Go ahead.
I do want to touch on the whole subject of marks.
Please, let's do. Well, we'll go over on this.
Yeah. So I mean, it is pretty common to have they're kind of like tattoos on your astral body, right? Anytime you're working with an entity or you get initiated into a certain current, it is customary that you have a tattoo put on you as a mark, and that is, it's kind of like tells a story of not only who you are, but who you work with and who you're close to, etc. You can kind of look at it kind of as protection as well. You're being in this astral realm, and people see your tattoos like, oh, he's with them, or whatever. So that could go. I mean, you're constantly being marked by beings that you work with, currents of energy that you've initiated into. I mean, you'll see entities on the astral realm that are just covered in tattoos. So like a lot of elemental spirits have a whole bunch of tattoos, and it's a story of who they are. So yeah,
I've seen that.
And where you've been,
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's put this on the topic for next week. I want to get into this because you see, demonology is not, folks, just about the demons themselves. It's about actually your individual journey.
Yes.
And working with these beings, I love them, I tell you, because they don't dump it all on you. It's amazing. Their temperance is that as you're getting it, I think you're right, Ruric, they're out there cheering. They're saying, she's getting it.
She's getting it. Peeling those layers back, they're like helping you pull and peel as well.
If they're going to experience things through you, why wouldn't they want it to be the best possible?
Sure. Yeah.
It's a note for me. Like, I know, I think it's very important that we're talking about demons and working with them and stuff, because it is the most taboo subject out there, first off. But I think the purpose of, at least when I come on here and talk, for me, I want people to get out of this cage they put themselves in, even unknowingly, right? To understand and realize the reality of that we live in, the spiritual reality, not just with demons, but angels and other spirits as well. There's so many different species out there. You really want to get to know Jehovah, you want to really know Jesus and all these other spirits, like, you got to break out of that little cage you put yourself in. That's what I want to get across to people, is I want to be unshackled by what you've put yourself into and be able to see clearly, you can have an informed decision then when you're finally looking through the eyes of truth versus faith. Open yourself up, your perception and your understanding, and then you can see what reality is, what these beings are, and what's your personal purpose and potential is.
You really said something that the difference between truth and faith.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I want to get into this more of these marks, because I have a sense that it's like I saw one time with many humans, is that they have these, they look to me to be like black moles that cover people, and these are spirits. It's what they are. They attach themselves to us, and I wonder if they do not leave a mark, as you said.
Those I when I talk about marks, I'm talking about like they're like little symbols and they look
Mhm.
tattoos.
I have the one I was sold. It's right up here.
Yeah, yeah. There are attachments and parasites and stuff that people have that can attach to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get more into this, folks. I hope everyone has found. I just want to say thank you, panel. Y'all are the best. This is
Thank you for having us. It's an honor.
Well, it's to me, and again, we don't get into the individual names. We'll probably get into it as we go, but I really like this. It feels to me like, when you accept that job with the corporation, so you're going through orientation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of the orientation process, is becoming familiar with, the way that the corporation works, who is part of that corporation. And I want to get on the marks of the soul, and then discussing, it was on my list as well, discussing the hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a hierarchy to the afterlife.
There is, but it's not like we would think it would be. It's very confusing. So there are a lot of ranks and titles given to a lot of different spirits, but it depends on where they're at and what realm they're in too. Like you could hold like a numerous amount of titles, right? You could be a duke here and a king over here. It's
And a lord over here.
Yeah, it's very hard to really comprehend.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, doesn't Jehovah say that himself? Lord Jehovah?
Yeah, King of Kings, Lord of Lords.
Yeah. Okay.
And they talk about the seal of God, on the forehead, right?
Yeah, they do.
There's a lot to it.
I mean, I'm just, I got this picture of Yellowstone, and I'm the calf about to be branded. Like, what the hell is this? Where's my damn cowboy hat? Anyway, panel, thank you all. Nina, you have a show later on. And I know your link is working. I've tried 3 different times to put that in there for Ruric, for yours, and JD, and I'll go back and do that again.
It was just the YouTube for some reason wasn't working, but our websites are, so I don't know.
Crazy
YouTube's finicky. You guys can find our YouTubes and stuff on our websites, though. Most websites will have all our social media links and stuff like that, so just go there.
A lot of people are enjoying the conversation, not what they had expected. Well, that's kind of cool. I mean,
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, we're not here to scare anybody.
No, and like you said, making an informed decision. That's the thing. How are you going to be able to do that unless you're not listening to all of it, right? So that's what's all.
Don't they have the big thing in all governments is to be informed and consent,
Right.
and if you give consent without being informed, you're screwing yourself, man.
Yeah.
You are. I know. I've been there. It's
I think
like
we all have. Yeah.
Yes.
like what? All right. Much love to all of you. Again, panel, thank you. Well, thank you, all of you watching. This has been, I tell you, I do enjoy this. I really do. This is, this is kind of stuff that, I get my tea, I get my thing ready, because Wednesdays have proven to be just fabulous information brought out.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, because I got the Who going in my head right now. I'm free. Anyway. All right, everybody. Until we meet again, happy trails. Thank you, panel. Much love to you all. Make sure you support these folks by going to their website and their YouTube channels and the other channels, and make sure you subscribe. And with that,